Well, I've already recorded the video and I was just about to export and upload it when I came across some breaking news. There are no, and I repeat, there are no tariffs on Canada right now. I'm not going to hold you hostage. I'm going to give you the breaking news right at the start, and then I'm going to play the entire already recorded video. Here's the breaking news. According to CTV, the U.S. Court of International Trade has reversed Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico, ruling that the president does not have the authority to impose them unilaterally. So there you go. No tariffs. It's all been a big hoax. Liberals, you just voted a man in for the sole reason that he would fight Trump for the tariffs. So now, should we have another election? Should we consider who got voted in? Should we kind of revisit all of those things, or should we continue with our elbows up type of mentality? Let's get back to the already recorded video. Well, what a official crazy first day of Parliament. You had Mark Carney, who had an underwhelming experience, I guess, or underwhelming performance. That's the right word, in the House of Commons. You also have quite a few very quick stories that we're going to go over, such as the fact that minimum wage increase in British Columbia. You also have the fact that Canadians are poorer than ever. Quebec wants to distance themselves from the king. No surprise there. You have Pierre Poilievre talking smack about Mark Carney from the hall since he wasn't allowed in the House. You also have more talks about the 51st state. In fact, that might kind of be a reality in the near future. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see how Mark Carney kind of navigates that relationship. Yeah, there's just a lot to take a look at today. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's all I care about, folks. Let's see how high we can get those likes going. And without further ado, let's get right into the video, starting off with some of the things I just read off. The fact that BC minimum wage is increasing to $17.85. That's not too bad. I mean, that's still pretty low, I feel, but you know, it's working its way up. Not really keeping up with inflation, especially after this next piece, where Canadians are missing credit card payments at levels not seen in years. I'm not laughing at people. I'm crying on the inside, believe me. This country is just making people poor. What do they call it? The largest like transfer of wealth or separation of wealth that's happening. Like, middle class is not being bumped up. Middle class is being lowered. Upper class is the new middle class. It used to be if you made 100 grand, 150 grand a year, man, you were rich. Like, wow, you probably had like an Acura, BMW, Lexus, like something nice was in your driveway. You probably had like a huge house, huge with like pillars, you know? Now you might even be living in like a van or an RV or like a mobile home. Like, it's so expensive. Life is so expensive right now. And I don't fault people for not being able to keep up with credit card payments. It's really, really sad. And speaking of sad, Quebec is not necessarily going through another sort of a separatist movement, but they are trying to cut all ties with the King of England while he was in Canada's capital. Kind of funny.
Madame President, I seek the consent of the members of this assembly to jointly present with the leader of the second opposition group the following motion: that the National Assembly unequivocally affirms that it is the sole custodian of the democratic expression of the people, Quebecers, that it emphasizes that a very strong majority of Quebecers feel no attachment to the British monarchy, that the National Assembly agrees to abolish the link between the state of Quebec and the British monarchy.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Is there consent to debate this motion, Mr. Deputy Government Leader?
There is consent without debate, Madam President.
Is this motion adopted? Mr. Deputy Nathan Mataperia?
Why not vote, Madam President?
So the vote is now open.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot of yays. So it looks like they're going to be debating on whether Quebec distances themselves from the British ruling of the kingship. And to be honest, I don't know if it's, you know, an ignorant part of me that, or an uneducated part of me that just thinks that Canada should be distanced from Britain and the King and all of that stuff. But am I the only one that didn't really care that the King was here? Like, it didn't really mean anything to me. And by mean, it didn't mean much. Literally didn't mean anything at all to me. Not to be rude or gross or however people that were, you know, moved by the King being here felt. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me. And most people that I know, it also doesn't mean anything to them. So should Canada be revisiting this? Because we're deemed as a sovereign nation, yet the King came here on our dime to basically not swear in Mark Carney as prime minister, but kind of sort of to like solidify everything and make it real. That's not really a sovereign nation. That's a nation that Britain has by the balls. And I, for one, don't really care for that moving forward. But again, that's my opinion, folks. I would absolutely love to know yours. Now let's take a look at Pierre Poilievre, who is talking about Mark Carney from the hall. It was very weird not seeing Pierre in the house. I feel like the momentum, the structure of all of question period was very, I don't know another word other than weird, bizarre. It felt like it was lacking substance because the man himself, Pierre, who brings so much energy, such good zingers, such good passion to the playing field, wasn't there. And for that reason alone, question period didn't feel the way it should have felt. But let's take a look at what Pierre had to say from the hallway.
Yesterday, the government tabled a Ways and Means motion with regards to 3 tax measures. Now, I'll just take a very brief trip down memory lane, not to go too far back, but of course, we Conservatives have been leading a crusade for lower taxes, to axe the carbon tax and the GST off new homes, to cut income taxes. And of course, when we proposed this, the Liberals said we were crazy, and now all of a sudden they are, at least in part, plagiarizing our policy proposals and adopting modified and watered down versions of them. Their motion will partly eliminate the carbon tax, the GST off homes, and give a very modest, very tiny income tax cut. So tiny that it would be barely enough to buy you a cup of coffee every week at a Starbucks.
The tiniest.
Better than nothing. Conservatives came here to fight for lower taxes and more purchasing power. And so we are going to put forward amendments to this motion that will get rid of the entire carbon tax for everyone, for real, for good. We also push for the GST to come off of more homes so that we can encourage more building and more buying. And we'll push for a bigger income tax cut that people will actually notice, so that hard work really does pay off for a change. Finally, we are going to push for cuts in bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, and foreign aid so that we can match the lost revenue with lower spending in order to avoid adding to the deficit. Every dollar of deficit spending is a dollar of inflation that ultimately shows up across the country. We cannot print and borrow our way to prosperity. We need sound money again, and that means bringing down the deficit. So we will, that said, we are the party of taxpayers. We will vote for every tax cut, always and everywhere. We love taxpayers, and we want taxpayers to be better off. We will offer even better ideas in the future, and as I said a few weeks ago, I'm encouraging the Liberals to steal my ideas, because we have the best ideas. We've been winning the debate on ideas, whether it's on carbon taxes, inflation, housing, resources, drugs, crime. Conservatives have been leading on all of those things, and we're here for the right reasons, not for our egos. It's to get things done to make people's lives better so that they can work hard, have beautiful homes, in safe neighborhoods. That's our mission, and that's what we'll fight for.
Man, it's so good to see Pierre back in the news cycle. I really wish that they get Pierre back in the house sooner than later, because yes, it's great for him to do these press conferences, but it's also very important for him to be on the debate stage, because I just feel like that's where he thrives the most, man. Pierre is a killer in those debates. Like, he's been working his craft to perfect it for years and years, and he had a lot of momentum with Justin Trudeau, and he would maintain that momentum. In fact, it would probably propel him to the next level if it were, again, with all of the old faces from the Liberal bench, but all of the new faces. Like, I just don't think that the new guys are ready for Pierre to get back in the House. Mark Carney certainly isn't ready. I mean, Mark Carney got completely humiliated by the Conservatives in the first question period, right? How often is Mark Carney going to be returning to the House for question period? We don't really know. I suspect probably not that often. It seems like he's already setting course to be less appearances than Justin Trudeau. Feels like Carney wants to be out of the spotlight, in the shadows. That's kind of where he seems to thrive. And Pierre is in the spotlight. So very, very different people. But when they do clash, it's going to be hilarious. If you're a conservative, if you're a liberal, I mean, I should get you a tissue box. Anyways, moving on to President Donald Trump and what's going on with America. The Iron Dome, or I guess the Golden Dome, is a real thing, and it's going to happen. Now, is Canada going to be paying the $61 billion for it, or are we going to have some sort of a merger, economic merger with America to avoid paying for it? I don't know, but let's take a look at what the analysts have to say. Trump's comments about the 51st state with the the Golden Dome.
Well, the U.S. president did not respond directly to today's throne speech, but did post this online after. On Truth Social, Trump wrote, "Canada very much wants to be part of our fabulous Golden Dome system. It will cost $61 billion US dollars, equivalent to more than 84 billion Canadian, if they remain a separate but unequal nation." Adding it will be $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. Trump ended with, "They are considering the offer." Mark Carney's office was quick to respond, writing, "Prime Minister has been clear at every opportunity, including in his conversations with President Trump, that Canada is an independent, sovereign nation, and it will remain one."
Oh, smokes. There you go. It's going to remain.
Is the world.
Oopsie. We're going to remain a sovereign nation, right? Yet we're still hooked on to the kings and queens. It's just so bizarre. Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't just end there. It actually expands a little bit more. And it really feels like we're heading towards a trajectory of Mark Carney selling us out to some capacity. Whether that's the 51st state, whether that's something different, I don't know. But let's take a look here at the longer piece of news.
Lots to discuss with CTV's political commentator, Scott Reed. Scott, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Another day of firsts for Prime Minister Carney, his first question period. What sort of tone do you expect he will set?
Well, you would expect he would keep the same tone that we see from him usually, which is that, he sort of gives very direct, unadorned, non-flowery replies that are very focused and factual. It'll be interesting because the rhythm of question period is so different than, say, for example, when he's engaging with journalists. Because with journalists, he tends to take his time. He'll sort of give substantive answers. He'll walk people through the logic of what he's thinking. He loves to number things. Well, I have three things to say in response to that, Marcia. Let me begin with the third one, then I'll come to the second and the first. The rhythm of question period doesn't permit that. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts his style for the circumstance. And we also know he can get sharp with people when he thinks a question is stupid. And I guarantee you, he will get plenty of stupid questions in question period.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to suffer fools. Okay, we have to talk about this most recent development from Trump, once again, almost sounding like he's willing to make a deal with Canada that if they want to become the 51st state, if we want to become the 51st state, that we don't have to pay for the protection from the Golden Dome. However, if we don't, then it's going to cost $61 billion. What do you make of this right on the heels of the King's speech yesterday emphasizing our sovereignty?
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think it was an accident that this came out last night. I remember this distant period. When was it? I think it was Sunday when the U.S. ambassador told Vashti that nobody in the United States, including the president, was talking about 51st state, and yet here we are with a big dollop of it again only a couple days later.
It's funny because Mark Carney did an interview with the bald guy from CBC. That interview aired, and simultaneously, that's when Trump posted on Truth Social about the 51st state. And during that interview, he was asked about the 51st state comments and how they haven't heard anything about it anytime recently and how it's completely changed and that was a thing of the past. And then Trump says the 51st state comments simultaneously. It's honestly genius. The guy is just he's a magician, right? He's just so funny with the comedic timing of everything. Not that I'm on board with the 51st state stuff. I'm just on board with the prime minister completely shitting on the president completely shitting on our prime minister because he's a liberal. I like that piece.
I think that the president pays close attention to King Charles and to what's happening. Claimed he was watching the leaders' debates during an election campaign. So I think we're seeing the projection of a bruised ego. There's lots of underlining Canada as an independent sovereign nation, our traditions as something very distinct from the United States were on full display yesterday with the King's presence, with Parliament, with a speech from the throne, and of course with the language about the true north, strong and free. So I think this is just a reflex outburst of ego and silliness. You know, bullies are insecure, and I read that as insecurity, saying, oh, you could be a 51st state, you ought to be a 51st state, best deal you could ever get. And this Golden Dome fantasy, and it is a fantasy, let's be clear, is just the example that he's drawing upon.
Finally.
Golden Dome fantasy. So this guy who's a political analyst is saying that it's a fantasy for Canada to invest in our missile defense system. He didn't say the 51st state is a fantasy. He said the Golden Dome is a fantasy. Like, this is what's wrong with these people. They don't see the long-term threat or the potential of that threat eventually coming here in Canada. Liberals think that we live in this utopia place where everything is great and nothing bad can ever touch our soil because all the bad people are on the other side of the pond. Nah, man, ballistic missiles can go in outer space now and they can fly in orbit and they can come down wherever they want on Earth. In fact, Canada is so vulnerable of an attack that it's actually pathetic. It actually is. You can have people come from the north or even the west coast right through the freaking Haida Gwaii or right through Vancouver Island. We got no defense at all. We got nothing. We got no emergency response. It's insane. So yeah, no, this isn't a fantasy for the Golden Dome. It's a necessity. And I don't see how it's only going to cost us $61 billion. That's insane. We've given Ukraine more money than that. But apparently $61 billion covers missiles around our entire country. No. 600 million. Put 600 million. We're kind of loud. $600 billion. I think that we should be putting $600 billion into our missile defense system, not 60 billion. Add another zero.
I have to ask you on a lighter note about Justin Trudeau's footwear. It's been making some headlines. Yeah, I think we have a photo that we can show everyone. A lot of people were critical of his choice. They thought it was far too casual to wear when meeting the king. He's wearing some green sneakers. What do you make of it, Scott?
Yeah, buddy, who cares about the footwear? Who cares? You know what I wear every day? Honestly, good for him. You know what I wear every day? These rubber Birkenstocks. That's what I would have showed up in. Heck, I even showed up at the legislature in BC wearing that. No, good for him for wearing that. Good for him. I'm on team casual sneakers.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's less to this than meets the eye. He's no longer the prime minister. He was kind of given the bums rush. You know, people made it clear they didn't want him. What have we talked about for the past 4 months? How politicians and political leaders and everyone else can be the un-Trudeau. I think if the guy wants to wear green sneakers to the throne speech, fill your boots, so to speak. I don't think he cares, and I don't think we should care either.
Fill your sneakers. All right, Scott Reid for us this morning. Good to see you as always.
Yeah, that's crazy. Why is Trudeau still, like, I get that he showed up to the King's throne speech or whatever the heck it's called, but why is he in the news for literally just showing up with sneakers? He's not a member of parliament. He's not a politician. He's just a regular guy now. At least he wore his suit. I don't even own a suit. I refuse to wear a suit. I don't even want to be buried in a suit. I want to be buried in my sandals. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy that we're talking about Trudeau's footwear. Oh my goodness, man. It was with the socks. It was with the planking. Now it's with his shoes. It just doesn't end. It doesn't end. But at least him making the rounds back in the news is not in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not adding a scandal. Almost a sandal, but it was a shoe. And to him, I say, good for you, man. Good for you. Like, get out of our lives. Go live your life. Let the adults try to, fix the mess that you've made, or they're going to make it worse. But at least it wasn't like some, scandal erupted or whatever. He's just wearing shoes. So I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and comments down below about that. Do you think that this is going to happen? Do you think this is good for Canada? Do you agree or disagree with any of the points that were brought forward? Let me know. And now we're going to conclude everything with with kind of my favorite talking point right now. It's centered around immigration, specifically student visas. Now, I wish Canada would follow suit on this. I really do. In fact, Jamil Giovanni, not so new guy of the Conservative MPs, he's been saying that we should pause, at least stop, the temporary foreign workers program here in Canada. Now, I think that's phenomenal, and I would love to see that idea get pushed even more so, not just from Jamil, but from other frontrunners on the Conservative side. But it doesn't just end there. In fact, Donald Trump is one-upping that and just putting a stop to all student visas. Kind of interesting. Let's take a look at what he's doing over in America. So Trump is, let me read this correctly. Trump administration halts new appointments for foreign student visas. Yeah, that's a thing that you're allowed to do, and it's not racist. Imagine a leader who sees that there's too many foreign students in their country and says, you know what? We're just going to halt it. We're going to halt all new appointments for foreign student visas. That's pretty cool. In fact, that's something that Jamil Giovanni, Conservative MP, not so new guy, has recently said as well, that he wants to put an end to the temporary foreign worker program. Now, the media and liberals are going to try to tell you that that's racist and you can't discriminate against people from other countries. They automatically associate foreign students, foreign workers with people that are of a different color. Has nothing to do with color. Has to do with our jobs, and our schools should be prioritized for Canadian-born citizens. Doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. You could be any color. You're a Canadian-born citizen. Great, you get top priority over the picks. Once all that's done, then we start to bring in immigration, targeted immigration. But the politicians and the media want you to think that you're crazy for thinking that way. But the president says otherwise. Let's take a look.
The Trump administration appears to be putting up a new hurdle for Canadians who want to study at U.S. universities. The State Department is ordering U.S. embassies to stop processing new student visa applications. Richard Madden is in Washington. Just last week, Richard, if memory serves, you were telling us about U.S. President Trump's threats to ban foreign students at Harvard. What is this latest development?
Yeah, good morning, Heather. This is the latest escalation. As you noted, this sweeping order was signed by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Tuesday, telling U.S. consulates and embassies to pause all foreign student applications until further guidance, according to diplomatic cables seen by several media outlets here. Now, the White House and America's Ivy League schools continue to be in this deadlock position, this escalating fight. The administration believes that foreign students are mostly to blame for the mass protests on university campuses, the unrest, the encampments, and they blame elite liberal universities, especially Harvard, for allowing this to happen and for anti-Semitism to flourish. Now, for context, this new directive comes just days after a judge temporarily paused President Trump's order blocking Harvard from accepting foreign students, as you noted. Now, Trump since escalated this battle against Harvard by threatening to pull more than $100 million in federal research grants and eliminate its tax-free status. Now, a Harvard task force recently found evidence of bullying and intimidation of some Jewish students on its campus, but the university says the president is motivated by personal vendetta and retaliation, all because the university refused to comply with his demands to audit the viewpoints of the faculty and staff and to surrender the conduct records of its students. Take a listen.
The president is engaged in an unprecedented personal vendetta against the university as opposed to addressing any serious problem. And here's the thing. This is not merely hurting Harvard, not merely hurting 7,000 international students, but it literally hurts hundreds of millions of Americans who benefit from serious research in this country and people around the world who benefit from the work that we do.
Now, universities obviously rely on foreign students' tuition for its finances, so this move could have a huge impact on its bottom lines. But Trump says Harvard and other Ivy League schools are prioritizing raking in tuition cash from foreign students while denying Americans from attending. Take a listen to President Trump.
They're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there.
Now, there have been some theories of late as to why President Trump continues to target Harvard. And the White House has since knocked down these, what it calls completely false theories, that Trump's vendetta is because the school rejected his son Barron from attending. Now, the First Lady's office said in a statement overnight that Barron didn't apply. That said, this is something definitely to watch because this could not only affect potential students applying from Canada, but from around the world as well.
Richard, foreign students who want to go to those U.S. universities are going to face more vetting over their social media feeds and posts as well. This is all part of the same story. Tell us more about that.
Yeah.
Hold on, was that just regular students or was that just foreign students?
U.S. universities are going to face more. Richard, foreign students who want to go to those U.S. universities.
Hey, you know what? That's amazing. I'm on board with that. We should be doing the same thing. We should, if you're spewing anti-American or if you're coming to Canada anti-Canadian rhetoric on social media and you're a foreign student, get the hell out of here. No, seriously, get out of here. Like, you don't. You deserve the right of free speech, but not of free consequences, right? If you're a foreign student and you want to come to our country and take a seat in a class or in a school potentially away from a Canadian born citizen. I know they're talking about America, but I like to attach myself to American policies and wish through wishful thinking that Canada can follow suit and that we can start to do a little bit of that too. Right. That would be incredible. That's incredible to really monitor the social media posts of people that you're letting in, not just through immigration, like foreign worker program or people immigrating to the country, but the students as well, because that's a big loophole. Students don't even get. Did you know this? In Canada, students don't even get. They don't get like security checks when they come to Canada. It doesn't exist. You could actually be a bad actor, like a terrorist, and get in as a student in Canada. Bit of a loophole.
Are going to face more vetting over their social media feeds and posts as well. This is all part of the same story. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this is a big one. The State Department in that cable says it could also review the social media history of foreign students, and that move could severely slow down processing and really hurt university enrollment ahead of the next academic year this fall. Now, many State Department officials have reportedly complained privately that the language of what is acceptable of free speech or not is vague at best. One questioned if posting a Palestinian flag on Instagram is grounds for extra scrutiny or outright refusal. Now, other advocacy groups question if the State Department has the time or the taxpayer dollars to conduct this social media vetting. So this order comes as potential students from around the world start looking at their options abroad. So this continued uncertainty could damage the reputations of America's Ivy League universities as valued institutions and these elite schools to attend.
I'd love to know what you guys think down below in comments about that. Do you think that this is a good thing for Canada to follow suit? Do you think it would be a bad thing? Let me know your reasoning down below. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, it'd be super awesome for you guys to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.